So this is going to be a live recording, hopefully. We'll see how the audio works out. This is right where I spawned in for a 4.0 preview, and we're going to go over the Guardian QI first look. Thank you to my long subscribers. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. First things first, I loaded in to this to the game directly here. I chose New Babbage as my starting point, spawned into the hangar, and I'm already in the newbie spacesuit. So basically, this right here, you can go right out and fly and have a good time. This shaves off a tremendous amount of time, and if you already have weapons and gear and such, you can always, of course, use the items, the space here, and the freight elevator in order to claim your gear, get it out, whatever you need to do. So, the Mirai Guardian, there's two variants. There's the regular Mirai Guardian, which has a pair of size 5s and a whole bunch of missiles. And then there's also the Mirai Guardian QI, which has a pair of size 5s and a whole bunch of missiles. Isn't that interesting? However, the QI also has a quantum interdiction capability, versus the regular Guardian, which is only slightly cheaper, does not have such capability, but gains some performance increases. It is stated by CIG that these are faster than an Ares series of ships, such as the Ion and the Inferno, which, side note, the Inferno has had a couple nerf bats recently, but the Ion just got a huge buff for 4.0. Its a weapon is a single size 7 bespoke weapon is now fully auto again, which has not been that way in a very long time because of that experimental charged shot stuff and all the fiddling with it. But it's back to fully auto on the Ion. So it actually is a pretty interesting ship for 4.0, if you're a big fan of that style of ship. The Guardian series, though, back to them, enjoy having a more balanced, I would argue, pair of size 5s. You're not relying on a single weapon system. The weapon is not ballistic, so that's a benefit or a drawback depending on what you're looking for. Energy-based systems are more reliable. You can sustain with them, I should say, and they may not do as much damage in the certain ways you need them to. But they'll get the job done in a reasonable amount of time, and they won't require you to go back to the station and reload constantly, which would be very useful for Pyro. In particular, the QI model, it's only slightly less maneuverable and performance-wise as the traditional, I guess the regular, I guess you could say, Guardian, which also came out tonight. It's been a long evening. And this is with the special paint that these come with for Concierge. So what you're looking at right now, forgive the clicking noises because this is live, is the Sovereign paint. It's live recorded anyway. And you can see those pair of size 5s and that beautiful visibility in that cockpit. My goodness. Also note the missile platforms. In general, I don't really see a downside to the QI model unless you're into hyper performance or something. I think they knocked it out of the park. It's a pair of size 5s in this system are pretty unique. And from what I'm already hearing from folks is that these energy-based size 5s can be replaced with other size 5s. So these are not stuck on there. So if you're really heart set on getting ballistics on there, which is a viable option, you could rock a pair of ballistics and have the symbiotic nature of those missiles being able to dump missiles on a target, as well as a pair of size 5 ballistics. And then around the back, you have what you could use to keep your prey there. So the system on the back here is a little different than what we're used to seeing on the Mantis and such. And it's only 1/2 of what the Mantis can do. But on such a potent weapon system, on such a maneuverable and potent weapon platform, it's pretty impressive to have any type of QI system. And that's pretty dang cool. I think that in general, The Guardians are going to have a place. That's why everybody was so excited about them. Especially with the use of quite obviously, it's only a single player required to run the Guardian, which is quite useful. This quantum jammer, sorry, dampener, as in our terminology, is power intensive. So what CIG is saying is that you will have to balance the amount of energy usage of the weapon systems when you have this thing engaged. And it only has, because of the extra weight of this system, it loses some maneuverability over the traditional one, which is incredible, I gotta say. Okay, so this is attempt number 2 to cover the Guardian. I'm going to try to avoid using advanced camera, at least on foot, because it had a glitch where I could not fix it. Visor wipes didn't help. Nothing really helped. Anyway, if you didn't hear it earlier, you can log in. I chose New Babbage. Put you right next to the place where you spawn the ship. And here is the ship. This is the Guardian QI. And as I was saying a moment ago, the system that's the QI system, there is almost no downside. It uses more power. It has slightly lower performance than the regular Guardian. I hope it doesn't get nerfed. But the visibility is excellent. The same missiles, the same weapon systems, and you can change out the size 5 energy-based weapons if you really wanted to and put ballistic on there. So that's quite nice. Okay, so this elevator here. Pretty quick. I really would prefer this to be a ramp. I'm not like an in-depth reviewer on that type of stuff, but I would have preferred a... Looks like that's the down option there. It's quick, I'll give it that. And it has that little lip on it. I'm guessing that helps with bringing a box up or something, but it is what it is. This looks like a suit locker here. Yep, suit clamp. And a secured weapon locker. So it's a nice touch. You got two-hand weapons slots or utility type gear, and it looks like one-hand kit at the bottom. Nice. This is Misk's Mirai series, and Mirai tends to have like alien influences on some of their stuff. It's more sporty, racing geared luxury. And Misk in general has agreements with different races to be able to do some interesting things with their ships. Let's see if the engineering terminal works. Coming soon. Okay. So you have a nice selection of components you can work on inside your ship, and then that elevator to bring the components up into the ship. And even if you had a hard time getting them in, you could like chuck them with a tractor beam when this is open into this space if you lock the door open. Inside here, you have a kitchenette, which is nice. I see that. I see the fire extinguisher down there. And I don't know. Is that supposed to be storage? That might be like a storage for a box there, maybe. And then you have your food processors, that type of stuff. It's not a fridge. I don't know. And then, of course, hygiene, which is critical. Shower, toilet, the usuals. These will become important in the future. No matter what way they implement it, you'll still have the ability to need these to have like little bonuses at the very minimum. So it's nice to have those. And of course, full-on bed. Now, what I'm noticing is a lot of red, the Mirai color, and I'm not very fond of this for like long term. You can see the lockout option. If we were not in a hangar inside a landing zone, we wouldn't have such an issue. Let me see if there's different... It looks like the bed itself has controls of the lighting. Let's see. Auxiliary. Oh, that looks much better. Why are they blinking? And then alarm, which should blink. And that's all the different alarm panels if the ship was being damaged and such in those type of status states. So let me see, can you, yeah, you can operate the switches from here. Normally they're on the door panels, but I don't see like 3 different options on the door panels unless it's those little dots. No, okay. Alright, so this room's auxiliary. Yeah, it's just... Right now, it looks like the lighting is a little iffy. But this is the way they should look, unless that's a style choice, an intentional thing, that only the living quarters area can have that auxiliary coloration. I much prefer that color, though, over the... That bathed in red. Looks like it's out of a scene from Hunt for an October where the missile room is. But yeah. Whoa. Okay, so the cockpit is a little bit interesting because of that ball turret style thing going on. Look at that animation. That's nuts. I like the HUD. It reminds me of the Fury, which of course it should. This is nicknamed the Fat Fury for a reason. Looks like you got your quantum. I'm not going to activate the system sitting right inside here, even if it would let me. I don't know if it will or won't, but let's go flight ready. I'm guessing that's just a quantum drive in general, so that's because we're in that mode. We are currently in a guns mode, so SCM all the way. Anyway, let's get out. Let's go fly. Okay. I'm right now checking the hotkeys. Okay. Yeah, they definitely respond. Notice the double engines. That is beautiful. So large, too. Has the same kind of swiveling Fury style engines, just on steroids, and there's only 2 of them on this one, but they do the job nicely. Let's see. What is... There we go. Oh boy. Okay. So in landing mode, notice everything kind of tucks up quicker, tighter. Little pads actually come out on this one where the Fury's kind of skidding around when it goes into this mode. Interesting. Let's pull them in. I'm gonna do that one more time. Interesting. Shit, I lied. I'm gonna do it one more time just to focus on those engines. Notice there's like those little arms with the engines. I love that. They look a little bit fragile, even though they're made out of metal, of course. But okay, as I know, as I'm waiting another minute and a half. Now, one of the things you want to note is, even though you can't quantum on the surface, you wouldn't want to engage or quantum disable near any other players because it can be seen as an act of aggression. That's just impolite in general. Even if it let you. I don't know if it would let you or not in this current builds. Okay, do I trust that or not? Let's see. Okay. Okay, it's quick. The acceleration is quite nice. You can see that just climbing height like crazy for the... I think that puts it a little more in perspective. I'm gonna put the boost on again. It's quick. I don't know. Look at the kilometer marker on the side. It's just flying. Alright, I'm already in range to be able to do something. So I am going to quantum away and kind of just go do something. It's quite an interesting little ship. And it still is little. Single crew shaped ship like this. I'm gonna drop out of quantum. I like this thruster layout. Notice they're kind of like split across. If one of these, one of the complaints I had was like, what if one of the wings blows off or something? And if you notice, like those thrusters are all distributed across the wings. So, now that I'm seeing it in action, you know, you're still pretty maneuverable if you blow one of them off. You will, of course, have the usual problems of being not as like exactly the same. So the dreaded message will come up, but I think you'll be fine. I think in general, until you start losing like 2 on the same side or something, then you'll have your major torque imbalances that you have to worry about and such. And you'll actually care what that message says, because hey, if your ship's blown apart. Although I think by that point, you got this big ball or turret looking thing that your pilot's in. So they're going to aim for that. And I mean, there's nothing between you and the targets. Well, from the front, other than, of course, the weapons you're throwing at them. And I'm going to state the obvious, but the QI model, they're definitely going to prioritize that. They have to. So, yeah. If you're holding them in place where they cannot get away, even if they had the advantage in the fight, they're going to be nervous going, oh goodness, are they going to get reinforcements? Is somebody going to be coming back? So for PvP, having a quantum drive, even just existing, just the name of the ship, it denotes that it has the ability to do such a thing. It's going to make people prioritize it. So just like in other games where you have like a debuffer or a jammer or a healer or something, this ship brings utility that would concern many folks. And they are not going to want to fight it. They're going to want to destroy it. They're not going to have to worry about, will you pull this card out of your pocket that knocks out their ability to get to safety if this fight goes downhill. So that's kind of where I think this is going, is that this thing better be able to take a hit, because everybody is going to want to attack it. So right now what I'm looking for is a clear area that has green space on it. I think I'm gonna have to go directly to Microtech like usual, and then go from there. Bam. Alright, Microtech. This thing is extremely maneuverable. If you're watching this, like considering what you should pick up, don't even hesitate about the QI if it's in your CCU list, chain, budget, whatever. If you're fretting about like that it's not as performance based, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it at all. This thing is extremely quick for what it is. With habitation on board, these type of weapons, this capability all in one package. There's nothing quite like that. I kind of had a little bit of time with this now. I'm kind of fiddling with it. And I just want to note, look in the bottom left corner, and you'll note that the speed is like 1100 meters a second in atmo. This thing is wildly quick, and you can get yourself into trouble really quick with this thing. But when you drop to guns mode, it kind of gets to more tame, like very tame. You'll notice, see how it's in cruising mode at 210, and then boost to 460. But when it's in your quantum mode and you're sitting in those type of master modes that allow you to move without the shields and such and weapons on, it is wildly quick. It's really fun to fiddle with it. And then the weapons themselves. So let's pick this target here. Notice I practically just stopped on a dime. Ship just does not care. It's extremely pinpoint. I'll like pick a tree or something. I usually like to pick on the big rock. It's like they have these modeled rocks and stuff that are in many places snow covered and desert covered, whatever. So notice this is one of the downsides with the energies. These are size 5 weapons, energy on a very small frame. And the QD is not engaged. So the quantum dampening field is not active. So this is a full-on burst from nothing else running. With its default, I guess you'd say, weapons. Now note the weapons only have the first point invested. So if I give them a little more power, if I double their power basically, let's see how much better that is. Give it a few more seconds. That's a little better, actually. Let's see. And the recharge rate is much, much better at 3. But this is what I mean. I mean, if I'm able to do things like this with the ship, you can too. Or you can pretty much just put them right where you're at. If just picture that rock as an enemy ship, and you'll be able to just put the weapons on target. Now let's see if it'll let me let's see if they'll let me do the quantum dampening games while sitting here. So first of all, I need to check my power management. Now notice the quantum interdiction generator is not online. I just fired it up. You can see the animation. That's neat. Okay. So in this state, it looks like it's just starting to cook. It's letting the enemy know that it's active, but it's not active, if you get my drift. Let's see. What is the deployment for it on buttons? Here we go. So you can absolutely deploy it in Atmo. And you can move the ship while you're doing it too. Look at that. Now while it's still running, that's really cool. The last vibe time, give me like vibes of the Saber Raven, this thing, but it's actually more useful. Like in the package, because of all the weaponry it has, especially until you lose all those missiles. Like until once you dump all those missiles and then you're down to the pair of size 5s, then I think you got a fair point to say, look, you know, what is this thing on? What's the balance of this thing when it comes to everything, other than just walking around with the quantum dampener? But until you lose those missiles, that's a viable skirmish or two with those missiles, plus the size 5s, plus the quantum dampener. And you know, as I've always said, you got to start thinking about your workmates, your friends, people you just happen to roll with. If they're in the same time zones as you, even just most of the time, I'm gonna turn off the quantum dampener, but leave the power to it. That is really cool. I love how it's like alive back there. It's like two ships in one. That's wild. This ship has tons of attitude. So when you're thinking about the quantum dampener, you gotta think a little bit bigger than just your ship. Even if you just have one other ship with you, and you're acting as the quantum dampener, and that other ship just brings a boatload of DPS, or that other ship brings even more utility in different ways. Maybe piles of missiles to help disable and down a bigger ship that both of you normally wouldn't be able to chew on, but because you have these size 5s on this ship, and those bigger missiles, and then be able to also utilize the weapon systems of a second ship, and then your QD holds it in place so you can both do whatever you need to do. I think this would be a very, very good PvP ship. PvE side, even just dismissing the quantum dampener, you know, right now there's not really gameplay where the NPC warps quantums away, but because of the weapon platforms, especially for at least a mission or two, then you blow through the missiles, then once again we got to look at the balance, which is the size 5s. Would a pair of size 5s do the job for you, especially energy based, so you don't have to keep reloading them? If the answer is yes, then that's good. If the answer is no, then this ship isn't great for PvE for you. It's just okay at it. And then, of course, once again, as I said about the PvP situation, if you have org mates, if you have friends, just even one guy, your buddies, and you roll around to take down enemy ships or something, or you do missions, contracts together, etc., then this ship's absolutely fine for what you're doing. Look at that maneuverability. It's just crazy. This ship's just fun as well. It brings a lot of... It's like a Fury with a quantum drive that's been upscaled to be a proper ship. It is a pleasant surprise that it has an internal habitation area that also accommodates hygiene, logging out on a bed, and also a suit locker. That's a nice touch, especially with the way the game's going, where everything is getting physicalized. And being able to have a suit locker for your PvP content and such, or your PvE content, is useful. It's a nice touch. I think this also could be used for... absolutely could be used for escort missions, so I've seen it tucked away in a Polaris once it goes into that landing mode. If you look, when it's in the landing mode, it tucks in pretty nicely. It has a wide stance, but its height is not too bad. It just fits inside the Polaris, based on some of the photos I'm seeing. So I've got to test it myself, but preliminary, it's looking like it fits inside the Polaris. And it should also fit in the Idris series, but once again, I gotta test that. So I think this thing's gonna sell really well. And I think the QI model is the one to go for. You have that quantum, even if you're not like a huge fan of the quantum entanglement, the quantum dampening field, it's just a cool looking ship in general. And unless you're a hyper maneuverable pilot, I have a hard time arguing against this ship. I think even... Okay, let's call this the spin test. The 0-point spin test. There are ships that would be falling out of the sky right now. This thing does not give a damn. It is wildly quick. I'm not saying it's the fastest ship in the game or something, but for a weaponized ship, this is pretty damn good. I absolutely would think about this as the same veneer as the Saber Perry. Although it's not the exact same speed, it feels the same. It feels like the game that people want to play. I think people want a high-speed ship once in a while to tool around in, especially if it's like your second ship or something like that. Maybe not your primary. But it does have an interior, so certainly is fine to me. Cutter Rambler, for example, funny enough, is a good comparison to this ship. If you don't count its weapons, like, which is ridiculous, but, yeah. Let's see if it does VTOL. So it just did something. Hang on. I'm pressing K. I'm trying to see if it'll go into some type of specialized VTOL capabilities. So one of the things I would recommend is give me some feedback on this. I'd appreciate it, because these type of first look videos, I think some people kind of get disappointed that's not an entire review video, because I haven't put it in combat. I can't put it through its paces. It's just so late by this point. I'm pretty much just having fun with it. But I think this is useful for people because they're going to make a decision now about whether this is the ship for them. And I know it's limited info, I understand that, but yeah, some feedback would be appreciated, especially for these first, if I continue these first look videos. Are they worth it for you, or are they not? That would be something useful. Alright, let's take a look. So, when you have the exteriors open, look at that. That elevator's taking a lot of hits. So if you do a hard landing with those exteriors open, I don't like that at all. Remember, the elevator is critical because that's one of the things that's going to get you in and out of the ship. And it's got that like free hanging armor plate on the bottom of it too. So I wouldn't want to see that thing fall apart and break, and then you can't get out of your dang ship, or you have to jump down, then you can't get back in. Because let's pop this open inside. See, that's it. Now, if you're out exploring in this ship, there is an exterior button, like there should be, for fuel port. But where do you open and close the elevator exterior? Okay, here. Notice the whole ship shifted. That elevator is lined up with these legs, with the landing gears, which is, that's really unfortunate. That should be like just slightly shorter, so it's up higher. Especially with that armor plate just hanging down that folds in. It looks really awkward. It's got that cover plate that goes along an angle. Okay. At any rate, it's working fine. And you have your components in each one of these sections. I do like this. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but just know they exist and know they are in the interior of the ship, which is very nice. For those who have a fighter without an interior, I feel for you. Once again, I like this lower lighting in here. This red is just so aggressive. See, that's a doorway, it looks like. Yep. There's a door to a door to a door to a door. I feel like I'm in a Crusader ship. Okay. Alright. Also, I don't know why, but my instinct is this should have been the hygiene. That should have been the bathroom. Not this. I wish the suit locker was here. And the bathroom was all the way over here with privacy and smell and everything else, or whatever else, you know, just that's a minor RP thing. Obviously that's not going to impact gameplay, but just, yeah, that's kind of weird. When you have that capability to have a room of that size back there, why not just swap them? And then you have your suit locker here, which I would prefer coming off of this ball turret type steering this cockpit, coming down here, and then be able to grab my suit and then go straight out the elevator over here. Now I understand that yes, you're only talking about a little bit shorter distance, further distance to get in here, but here's my thoughts here. Got multiple doors, okay? What if this is open, or somebody hacks it and gets inside? They're working on this door. You realize somebody is currently in your ship trying to breach each one of these doors to get to you. Being able to hop down, have a chance to slap your armor on, and then be able to fight at this door or the next door and all or nothing it, is to me a better option than leaving my valuable combat armor over there because I'm wearing a flight suit. Remember, in the future, CIG is forcing you not to be able to use medium or heavy armor in the pilot seat, and you won't have a two-hand weapon on your back. But these lockers, these suit lockers, are designed to allow you to just kind of click in and the entire set would be there. So if this was the armor locker, it would be easier to defend the ship from here. And also if you're doing escort duty, and part of your escort duty is hazardous materials, because there is actual hazmat suits in this game, believe it or not, already. Being able to have the hazmat suit right there so I can swap for my flight suit real quick and be able to get out the door, it, to me, is just more good for workflow. Also, I don't like the weapon locker being right where somebody is breaching my ship. Once again, I won't have my two-hand weapon on my back to defend the ship. The two-hand weapon platform should have been in this space, or ideally next to the suit locker. So yes, I understand that this would have made this kitchenette smaller. Maybe make this over here, and whatever the hell this is, make this smaller, because there's nothing here. There's nothing. I guess that would have been a fair compromise. I don't know why this isn't a fridge. I have no idea. I'm guessing it's just storage. But yeah, this space here, it looks beautiful, but this should have been a weapon locker or something like that, or one of these ones that says ventilation. This should have had the weapons on it, not back there. Because, once again, this is an indefensible position. This is where the bad person is. That's on your ship. So, not a minor pick. That's a serious pick, but at the end of the day, it's a rather small ship. It shouldn't be a big target to enemy players to board. They should be more trying to just destroy this thing so they doesn't quantum dampen them anymore, or disable it. One or the other. And then I guess board it. Technically, yeah, sure, but by that point you got bigger problems. But still, it's worth pointing out. All right, so that's my first look at this ship. I think it's quite nice looking. This is once again the concierge skin on board, and it is the QI model. Now, forgive the clicking again, even more than before. The QI's energy consumption is quite heavy. The QI just has a better quality power plant to keep up with the QI, but obviously if you balance this QD drive to be more powerful, once again, this is a first look, so I don't know the exact stats, but I am inferring that by taking this, you're taking stats off of here that you can dedicate to other things. If you look here, you can see it takes up 3 of your output on your power plant. So if it's important to you to do a lot of power management in very specific ways, understand that is a limitation. And if we think about this ship compared to the Scorpius Antares, the Scorpius Antares requires 2 players to run it. Now, they could shadow buff it in the future, and just quietly finally allow the pilot of the Scorpius Antares to fire up the quantum dampener. But right now, they can't, and they haven't been able to since it was released, which was really silly. I said before that the Netflix seat was stupid, and it should be an optional thing for the co-pilot. So if you jump in that passenger seat of the Antares, the co-pilot seat in the back, you should be able to transfer the ability. Like if somebody's sitting in that seat, they should be able to power it up and fire on the QI, unless they're bound because it's a bounty situation. But in this case, the QI Guardian can do all this from the pilot seat, like you saw me do. Also, the Vanguard Sentinel has its EMP, and it's more designed for e-war capabilities in the future, electronic warfare. So being able to do disabling of a ship in different ways, as well as be able to trick them. That there's a reason the Vanguard Sentinel in the lore had the nickname the Trickster, and Jester. You know, it was meant to be something that was tricky like that, and be able to send out missiles even that look like other ships. Like, it had some crazy stuff in it that we still don't have yet, but it will grow into its role. But it's not the same as having that drive on the back. That is a huge change. The better comparison is the one half of the Mantis's duties, but unlike the Mantis, this thing actually has a decent bit of tank as well as damage. Its damage potential is significantly higher than the Mantis's, so that's really interesting to me. They have noted that it is not intended for bounty hunting. The Guardian does not have pods. This is intended to destroy the enemy, not capture them for bounties. And the dampener is on the back of the ship, according to the Q&A, noting that you cannot get to it from the inside. This is, again, the Sovereign paint. The Sovereign paint looks pretty good. Let me go up in the atmo a little bit. Try to get away from this snowy haze from the storm passing through. And I want to note, on the traditional one, those lines are still there. Those angled lines. You can see the paint a little better here, but it has a nice little bit of metallic trim, and I think it does look pretty good. There is also a red and white one, the Red Alert skin, that looks okay. And I think in general the ship is a nice vessel. The price is a little high, but that's the way they are nowadays. There is a good warp on this 20 USD reduction. I recommend checking that out if you're really serious about the ship. Do note CCUs are available, as well as discounted Warbond CCUs if you're listening to this during the first few days that this thing's available. And it will, of course, be a poster child for 4.0. It is directly aimed at use in Pyro. That is evident. However, I do believe it's a good, well-rounded ship, especially the QI, because of the utility it brings. The kitchenette is not functional yet. The hygiene is not necessary yet. I don't want to feel I'm obligated to mention those things. It does have the same limitations. Suddenly got slow because I had the landing gears on. But in general, I think this ship will treat you well. I think it's got everything where it needs to be. The useful parts of the ship are not blocking your visibility. Has some of the best visibility in the game coming out of the box, and it shows a very mature ship design. It's also, especially the QI model, is quite good. It's quite a good looking ship. It doesn't hurt. Is it a TIE fighter? No. But if you want it to be, it sure can be. For somebody. I would say that you can note that the HUD does take a little bit of your visibility away when you're just flying normal. If you note, it's still pretty dang good, even with these wings in your way. It's still pretty good. And obviously you can tell the damage really quickly, which is important when you have these type of wing systems where there's like pieces, a large part of the ship with thrusters, weapon systems, missiles, etc. mounted on them. I like having that visibility, especially in a ship that's not a massive ship. You know, in general, smaller ships tend to take damage and break apart quicker, especially if they're getting volleyed off the field because they're being prioritized. And that's, once again, I want to end on that. This ship is not meant for you if you feel like, woe is me, because everybody's shooting at me. This ship will get prioritized. If they see a QI in the field, they will prioritize it. If they see a Scorpius Centaurus, they will prioritize it. If they see a Mantis, they will laugh, prioritize it, and then while it blows up, then keep laughing. So just remember that this ship has got a target painted on its back in any PvP engagement. Even when they bring the PvP, you might not mean to PvP, but they want to. So that's one thing I want to bookend this with. The traditional Guardian will not have anywhere near as much prioritization as this ship will. This ship will die more often. Their stats, if we could get our hands on them, would show that this ship dies more often. I'll bet one ISK, one UEC, whatever game currency you want to bet. One of. This ship will be very high on the death lists because they know you only need one player to run this, especially. You just have one person in that seat, and all of a sudden you're a problem for them. And they want problems gone if things turn sideways for them, even if they have the advantage. They will prioritize this ship. They absolutely will. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But hey, enjoy the ship. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to my long subscribers for sticking well. Thanks you to my long-time subscribers for sticking up with. Thank you to my long-time subscribers for putting up with me. Take care.